Hi guys, and welcome to my DSP wars. This is a video with basically most of the offerings in the DSP realm. The only one that's missing is the Moondrop droplet, but I think that the majority of them are here, the ones that at least are more significant and that make the most sense. The droplet was also priced much higher while not offering that much an improvement in terms of the sound. So I thought it wasn't going to be really too dramatic if I didn't have it here. Anyway, what do I have here? I've got two offerings from Tanchjim, the Tanya and the Zero. I've got two offerings from Moondrop, the Dew and the Quarks DSP. And I've got an offering here from Simgot, the EW100 DSP version. All right. Before I start, I just wanted to say that I actually find this whole DSP implementation quite interesting. Although I'm not a big proponent of equalizing, when the rare occasions when something does have potential, I will equalize it. But I always prefer to see what is the sound that can be had from a particular IEM as it is, and if I am going to adjust anything, I prefer to do an adjustment on a physical level. So adjust the tuning by filters, by dampening, whatever. That's just me. I mean, I don't criticize those that will want to do it, let's say, digitally or electronically, but that's just me. I prefer to do something that is a physical change and it will maintain itself and will play like that then on whatever unit you connect it up to. While if you're having something that you're going to adjust with a DSP, then you might not have a DSP at hand sometimes, or you might connect it up to a unit that doesn't allow for DSP adjustment. So you end up being stuck there. Anyway, that whole DSP revolution, has been quite productive. I mean, things like the QLX 5K with its highly competent DSP functions and its very complete parametric equalizer. This thing is absolutely unbelievable. Honestly, I think it's been around for a while now, and the new one I think will not have as much success as this, if not for no other reason. The fact that it's not Bluetooth is a big detriment, I think. But anyway, that's just my opinion. But the 5K, I think, is an absolute beast of a little Bluetooth DAC amp. And also the implementation of more complete DSP units in actually in TWSs, like for example the case here of the Soundpeats, the Engine 4, which I just recently received, and I will be doing a review for this. Absolutely unbelievable, the kind of sound that you can get out of this. I mean, you listen to this after you play around a little bit with the equalizer to make it sound really perfect, and you will be blown away by how good this is. I mean, it's really something else. Same thing happened with, for example, the offerings from Phil, the T1, the original T1 Pro, the T1, the T2 Pro, the Earfun, which are Free Pro, which are basically the same thing, and the Free Pro 2, which are basically the same unit as well. Those TWSs are absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it's quite impressive what you can do, and they actually have a third-party app which allows access to the internal allows access to a parametric equalizer which can be applied internally on the software to equalize them. It's quite impressive. But anyway, enough of that. All I basically wanted to say was I believe in DSPs. I think the DSPs are a good thing for their specific usage. Okay, let's make that clear. Now, if you are looking for ultimately the most quality sound, the most detailed sound, then that's not, let's say, the audiophile route, if you want to go that way. But if you are looking for something which is going to be fun, engaging, then definitely yes, DSP, I'm all for it. And like I said, any one of these here surprised me in their own particular way. All right, there's basically two groups here. Okay, there's a group which is the Tanchjim offerings, which are more bass heavy, more fun in my opinion, and then there's the group which is the Moondrop offerings, which are more detailed, less bass. I'm not going to say they're not as fun, they're just more detailed, more for the, let's say, the crowd that doesn't fancy too much bass and wants a little bit more detail. And then there's the Simgot, which kind of sits in between, but it's pending more towards the Tanchjim side. All right. I won't at the end of this video basically say which is the best or not the best, because like I just mentioned, they all have their pluses and their minuses. But I will tell you which are my preferred ones. That I will tell you. And I'll probably rank them in that order as well. Anyway, let's get into it, and let's start talking about them. The first one is the DSP Quarks, based on the Quarks, obviously. And the Quarks is a nice little 6mm micro IEM. It plays really nice. It's an IEM that if you connect it up to a good source, you will be very impressed by how good it is. I mean, I would even go as far as saying that this is far superior to an SSR. Far superior to an SSR. The SSR tries at every moment to murder you, especially if you start cranking up the volumes. And although this follows a kind of a similar-ish type of tune, it's fantastic as compared to the SSP, which is the let's say the bassier version of the SSR. You could say that the Quarks is kind of on that level. The DSP takes the Quarks, obviously, and because of the implementation of the DSP with its little amplifier in the plug here, allows you to, or has allowed for the fine tuning of the Quarks to be done to really bring out the best that it can offer. And let's be honest here. I mean, we're talking $17 roughly. For $17, this versus the standard Quarks, I would probably go for this. Especially if you are that person that doesn't have then the money to go and buy a little dongle or something, and that will ultimately allow for you extracting the last little bit of performance of the stock Quarks, because the stock Quarks, like I just mentioned, it can be made to play pretty impressively. It's quite a nice little micro IM, but the DSP version overall I think comes out on top. It does lose one thing with regards to the standard Quarks, which is, although this is by no means a bass monster, the limiting factor here somehow is the fact that the DSP here, or the amplification part of the DSP, does take away from the Quarks a little bit of that incisiveness of that bass hit. Okay, we're talking 6mm. We're not talking about something which is gonna earth shatter your ears, or no. But on the stock Quarks, with a nice little dongle, if you hook it up to something like the Penon Tail or something like it is, it's quite amazing how clean and impactful that bass can be. It's like a really nice. It's a nice slam. If you are going to make this a comparison to like car audio, it's like if you have a nice 6-inch subwoofer. Yes, there are 6-inch subwoofers. It's like if you got a nice little 6-inch subwoofer that can really give you that just the right amount of bottom end, but with that nice accompanying slam to it. That's how the stock Quarks with a nice little amplifier behind it, or source behind it, will act. This limited by obviously the little amplifier that's here, doesn't have that. It's got a very docile kind of a slam, very and it doesn't take much for you to see this. I mean, there were a few songs which I selected, and the Lady's Not Amused by Jeff Cascaro is one of those songs. It's got a nice little bass slam from the drum in the beginning, and it's there, but it's very, very relaxed, very chilled out. Anyway, that's that. The Jew, or I don't really know how to say. This is basically a shoe. Okay, let's be honest here. It's basically a Moondrop shoe, with the pluses of the Moondrop shoe, which are its clarity and a very detailed sound, and again with the implementation of the DSP and amplifier, what they've basically done is given it a little bit more bass, which was the area that perhaps was lacking, and kind of corrected the rest of the frequencies to a certain extent. They're still a little bit, I wouldn't say it's overly forward or aggressive or harsh or anything of the sort, but you can feel that there's a little bit there in that 4, 5, 6K area. There's a little bit there. Overall, taking that aside, it's very nice sounding, very nice sound. It actually comes with some nice tips, the spring tips as well, which I'm using. It's very nice sounding. It's got loads of detail, loads of clarity. The DSP has given them the right amount of bass to counteract all of that, or to balance out all of that, and it does sound nice. Again, it does suffer from the same issue as the Quarks DSP does, and I think it's related again to the little amplifier or little amplification section of the of the DSP of the plug, which is the bass is obviously much more prominent than the bass on the Quarks, but it sometimes lacks that ultimate little clean slam, that stop and start ability that you get on the standard shoe, which wasn't by any means a bass monster, nothing, but connected to the right source with a little bit of the right power behind it, it could give you a little bit of that, that nice. Okay, it's not a 6-inch subwoofer now. It's a 7.5-inch. It's an 8-inch subwoofer. Almost could give you that kind of feel. But overall, a positive upgrade over the Quarks, in my opinion. And for the $25 that it costs, if you want something with detail, with clarity, definitely a solid option. Then the Tanchjim offerings, the DSP, the Tanya DSP. It's again basically a stock Tanya. With that very, very good 7mm driver. The 7mm driver they have here in the Tanya, absolute beast of a driver, although it's a very simple PET driver, no fancy material, but it's a nice driver. And again, with the implementation of the DSP, they've radically changed the sound profile. If in the stock Tanya you had a sound profile which was very mid-bass dominant with some sub-bass roll-off, and then it had kind of a harmonish mids and highs, and upper mids and highs, like the previous ones that I've also mentioned. They all have a very similar kind of curve. Over here you have that bass which is very much emphasized in the sub-bass, not as much mid-bass emphasis. And then again, the mids, upper mids and treble have been corrected to be more present, more detailed. The thing that hits you straight away when you put it on is the bass. The bass is incredible. And it's incredible why? First of all, because it's plenty quantity, but it never loses its composure and it's clean, very clean. Compared to either one of those two, it's as clean but more quantity. Now, having this much bass does hinder the mids, upper mids and treble in terms of how detailed they can be. And for the sake of trying it and experiment and seeing how good the actual upper range was, I actually EQ'd slightly the bass down, and wow, you EQ the bass down just a smidge, and this has every bit as good treble, mids, upper mids and treble as the Jew. Every bit as good, no contest. It's every bit as good. Okay, you could say, oh, but then I could equalize that and give it a bit more bass. Of course. But even if you give it more bass, it doesn't have somehow the tonality that you get on the Tanchjim Tanya's bass. The thing that you guys that follow me know that I pay much attention to the tonality and the timbre, and this just has a tonality to the bass which is very, very engaging. And even if you do that there, no, it just is not the same. This has fantastic. The bass, honestly, fantastic. The mids and the upper mids and the vocals basically are fine or good. Like I said, they do get a little bit overpowered by the bass on occasions, but even songs like "Feel So Good" by Diane Reeves, no real complaints. Honestly, no real complaints. It's a little bit more full than what it should be, but fine. 80s from Bruno Mueller, again, for the most. The guitar comes across fine. There's nothing really there that I could say, oh wow, no, this is a blasphemy and it doesn't sound good. No, it's fine. Honestly, it is really, really fine. So here, fun on by the spades, plenty fun here. The Tanchjim Zero, the DSP. Well, I want to believe that this unit, also based on the Zero of course, is having some issue with the amplifier, because out of all of them, it's the one that when you start cranking up the volume, it doesn't like it too much. If on the Tanya I was able to really take my V60 for example and basically max it out and it maintains itself very composed and very nice, I could do the same thing on the Jew. On the Quarks, on the edge, you found that it started to lose its composure, a little bit of distortion. Okay, on here I reached about 75% and it's already distorting. Okay, so I want to believe that is something related here with the little amplifier on the in the DSP section here, and not with the actual units themselves, because the stock Zero, I've hooked it up to plenty powerful sources and no issues, no issues whatsoever. That aside, and if I maintain the volumes within, let's say, normal levels, this again has got a very prominent bass like that. Somehow I feel the quality of the bass here again is of quantity is plenty, but the quality is not as good as on the Tanya. The quality of the bass of the Tanya is better. The quality of the bass of the Jew is better, but there's more quantity here on the Zero than there. The mids, upper mids and highs, I found them as well to be very good. Not as ultimately detailed as that, but basically the same kind of thing as you get on the Tanya, but somehow they feel, how can I say, if on the Quarks you hear and you kind of have a presentation which seems, let's say, 2D, when you go up to the Jew, you'll get a presentation which becomes 3D, okay? All right. On the Tanya, you have a presentation which is small little 3D, if I'm trying to explain myself properly. And on the Zero, we go back to a presentation which is very much 2D. There seems to be a loss of air, of space somehow, which there it's more, here it's less. This is basically, I would say that this kind of simulates very, very closely the sound that you get on the Quarks, just that it has more bass. That's kind of probably the best way of putting it. However, and because I like to be fair and I don't like to be judging things without true merit, I've actually ordered another Zero DSP. Once it gets here, I will try it out and see if it is the same thing. If it is the same thing, then I won't even mention it. And attention must be paid in that this doesn't like to be played loud as well as the other ones do. If there is an improvement, I will definitely let you guys know and make an updated video for this. Overall, the sound, again, nice. It's a nice sound. I still prefer, of the two Tanchjim offerings, I still prefer the Tanya over the Zero. Very much so. Finally, the Simgot. The Simgot is based on the EW100. If the EW100 is, well, in my opinion, I think a lot of other people also agree with it, probably the go-to sub $20 IEM for various factors. I mean, it plays very well, very, very well. It has a very detailed, very complete. It gives you a sound which kind of has traits of its brother, the EA500, but obviously on a smaller scale, or even its EW200 brother, but on a slightly smaller scale. This, I think, is probably the one out of all of them that has been able to copy that magic the best. All right. On the Quarks, it's been improved, yes, and as I mentioned, I would choose the DSP Quarks over the stock Quarks. On here, that has also been improved, and yes, okay. Ultimately, if you want more critical listening, I would go for the normal chew. If you want something that is gonna be very good in terms of critical listening within certain limits, then this is definitely a solid. The Tanya has a completely different tuning to what its stock one is, especially in the bass. It's changed very much, but it's a very big improvement as well. It's very nicely done. Ultimately, I would probably even say that this will satisfy more people than the stock Tanya. Okay, obviously taking the stock Tanya without any equalizing or anything, but then that's what the whole thing here. So this ultimately also will probably be a better offering than the stock Tanya. The Zero, I think, is a step backwards. Definitely a step backwards. It's got more bass, but it doesn't have. It just loses the magic of the stock Zero. The stock Zero without the DSP is fantastic. Okay, this one has been able to faithfully emulate the magic that you have on the original EW100, and if it doesn't play better, it's honestly only limited by this. But you get that clean, detailed bass. You get it. You get that nice open mid-range vocals of fantastic on the right amount. Everything is very nicely done. and plenty of air as well. So there's very much the sensation of detail like you get on the Jew. You get that here, and more so because also it's the one that actually plays the loudest. You connect them all up and you set that you balance out the volumes, and this is definitely the one that's the loudest. Definitely. I don't know what sort of chips they are using here, if there's a commonality on the chips, if some are better, if some are not as good. What I can tell you is that this definitely is the one that plays the loudest out of all of them. Okay, it's got the loudest volume easily. So I would definitely say that this is a very solid, very solid, not alternative to the stock EW, because the stock EW is really good, But if you cannot afford to have a little dongle that will really extract the maximum out of the stock EW100, then this combination, I think is the best. Honestly, it is fantastic. I was very impressed, and I am very impressed by how good the EW100 DSP is. It is genuinely very good sounding. And this, is, I think, a very good premise that I hope, one, that companies will continue to invest on this and make even better products, because you can definitely see a big upgrade from the first ones, like the Quarks, to the latest ones. You can definitely see. So I'm obviously assuming that there have been improvements done in terms of what they're using for the chip or not. I want to believe that. Obviously the driver here is better than the Quarks, but overall I get a feeling that there is an improvement being done, from implementation to implementation. And who knows? Maybe we will see IEMs of a better level being made with better DSP chips and as well be implemented. The other thing that would be nice, and obviously I know that this is a long shot, is I would very much like to see a mobile phone company doing something in terms of their audio output. This is minute. This is really small. Come on, give us some phones. Give us phones like the V60, the V50, the V40, the V30. Give us that again. Give us that. I don't think it's that difficult for companies to really implement a nice audio output. And if they want to do it with this type of Type C, then do it. I honestly do it. Just obviously then allow it to be compatible with a 3.5 mils or 2.5 mils or whatever you want to do. But I really would like to see a mobile company manufacturing, again, implement a proper sound output on a phone. I really would, because I've been listening to some DAPs lately, and when you start equating the price of a DAP and the performance that you get out of it, sometimes I question if it is really worthwhile, because ultimately the majority of us, we are on the go, and we want something that will play well on the go. And I'm not going to say now go and implement something like this or whatever. No, but you can have a phone with a decent output stage. You can have a phone with a decent audio output. Like I said, like the V60 was. I mean, the V60 and the V50, the V series from LG were fantastic phones. Anyway, guys, as you might have already gathered by now, my two favorite out of all of these DSP units is the Tanya and the EW100. The Tanya, I just like it because it's got this nice, engaging, fun bass. It's great, and you crank it, and it doesn't, it just doesn't complain or anything. And whether it's Analog, Soul Persona, and Princess Frasier, or Feel So Good from Diane Reeves, or La Belle Dance Sans Remorse from Chris Botti, or 80s from Bruno Miller, or The Lady's Not Amused from Jeff Cascaro, or even some stuff like Free for All, Rhythm and Sound. It just behaves like a boss. Honestly, it behaves like a boss, and it does the job very nicely. The Zero, I want to believe that I just have a bit of a lemon here, but I will let you know. The Quarks, I think it's fine if you want something very mellow, but between the Quarks and the Tanya, Tanya. I mean, the price difference is so small. Definitely, actually, between the Quarks and the Jew, it makes no sense to go for the Quarks. Jew definitely is a much better option. If ultimately you want detail and that's what you want, you just want a clean detail, then yes, this is probably the one that I would say to go for. But then you have the EW100, and it's got just as much detail with better bass, with better volume. The only thing that it doesn't have is a metal shell. So and well, one thing actually I didn't mention, which was with regards to the fit. The Tanya fits nicely. The Zero fits nicely. The EW100 fits faultlessly. The Jew, for some reason, well, it was already an issue with the shoe, but for some reason the weight of the shell doesn't help it sometimes fit ideally, so that could be an issue there. And the Quarks, if you really insert it deeply, it will stay. Otherwise, it also has a tendency of sometimes coming out. But out of all of them, the one that has the best fit for me is the EW100. Okay. And that's it, guys. I mean, I hope you were clarified with regards to what's going on in the DSP scene, and let's keep our eyes out for future launches and see what comes up. All right, you take care now. Bye bye. Oh, and don't forget, like and subscribe. Smash that button, please, 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 please. Take care.